Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you live every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines for you and to provide some actual insight into what the fuck is going on in this industry every single day. As always, you guys, it's really easy to point out a problem and not offer a solution, and that's what we're all about here, is providing education and insight to help people stay in business and to keep moving. And all the guests that I bring on here, everything else on this show, and well, frankly, in all my content, they're all transportation professionals. They're all in the industry. They're active in the day-to-day. And frankly, there's no quote-unquote wannabe thought leaders out here. If there's people who are a thought leader that are on this show, it's because they fucking worked in this industry for a very long time. As always, you guys, got to give a shout out to my friends who keep that neon sign on bright for you every single day and make the show possible. It's my friends over at VHub. You guys hit them up, vhubapp.com. The need for the access for trailers is always going to be a thing, whether you're a shipper, broker, or a carrier alike. You always need a trailer at some point in time. And, especially like right now, if you're an owner operator or a smaller fleet, you shouldn't have to shut down a truck and lose out on revenue if your trailer's in the shop. So what they have right now, you guys, is out there in Glade Spring, Virginia. And the best part about this is you literally get paid to reposition this. You get paid $15.50 to bring it from Glade Spring, Virginia over to just outside of Tacoma and Orting, Washington. That's going to, and that's with on top of the freight that you put in the back of that trailer. They have the exact same move available over in Paragould, Arkansas as well, going to just outside of Tacoma and Orting there. And again, $15.50, you guys, is what you get paid to do that. That's additional revenue. That's to help offset some of these fuel costs and other rising costs that are out there. And then we did get all of those San Diego, as Ron Burgundy says, to Irving, Texas. They've all been covered, but we still have some down in Houston, San Diego going down to Houston. So again, hit them up, $600 that you get on that. vhubapp.com. My friends, Stacy Steen and Xavier Campos, they will be in the audience. Hell, Xavier is already in the audience right now. Hit them up, vhubapp.com. And yeah, I got a very special guest. Without further ado, he's a returning guest here. I got Cam with Valley Trucking Insurance coming back. Cam, what's up, brother? How are you?
Freight Coach, what's happening? How are you?
Oh, dude, fucking money. I'm on cloud nine. I'm making shit happen every single day, just like you are, bro.
Let's go. Representing the American flag. It's a turmoil time. It's a little bit shitty here and there, but we're in the best country on planet Earth.
Amen, dude. And that's the thing. I just literally, man, I just like none of this would be possible if I lived anywhere else, and it's like people come here. Like I was talking to a guy yesterday, man, he immigrated here from Poland like 12 years ago. He's living his American dream, man. And he out there, he started multiple businesses and everything else. And it's like, man, the opportunities that are here that we have, like we got to fucking protect it at all costs, man. Like freedom over everything. Your version of freedom might be different than mine, but I want us all to live out our lives the way that we see fit.
Always. I love it, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. I appreciate it. Anytime I get a chance to come on here, I love it. Shout out to VHub too, man. I've been digging what they do. I've been digging the mission they're on. Just trying to find creative ways to make more money and give opportunities for these folks. So there's someone I definitely want to connect with here. So,
dude, absolutely, man. I'll make that happen. I know a guy over there.
Let's go.
Well, dude, we're at 85, day 85 of this show. This is the 85th one, which is also that stark reminder that this is the Freight Coach tally of there being a truck parking issue in this industry, as well as a facilities issue. And, again, I'm not going to stop talking about this. I don't do this for vanity metrics. I'm not just going to talk about it when it's popular, because these are things that are of serious concern to a lot of drivers. And then I've also been seeing, my man, James Lewis, who was on my podcast earlier this year, he says, hey, it's not just bathrooms. Like there's not access to like showers, food at trucks. Like there's a lot of shit that these drivers are up against. And it's that constant awareness that if we want to see this industry change, we got to be the change, and we got to bang this drum until something happens.
Yeah, squeaky wheel gets the grease. And even if there are availability, I mean, what's the condition of the restrooms or the condition of the pit stops and stuff that they're working in, man? I've been in a few, and it's like, oh, damn. Dude, you got to clean when you get out of it. So,
dude, and that's exactly it, man. It's like you have a team over there. Like, what would you do if, as a business owner, if your team reported back of some of these conditions, you know?
I mean, I hope I would never get to that point, but we would
For sure.
address it and we would make that shit happen because obviously, got to take care of our people. I mean, who makes America move? The
That's
trucking
right.
industry, right?
Yeah.
Like, none of this is possible without them, to be honest. None of this shit on your desk, none of the stuff that I've
Well,
got would even be here without a truck. So, yeah, we got to take care of them.
dude,
It's a
I'm
no
I'm
brainer.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm
Yeah.
right there with you. Nick Anderson, it's vhubapp.com is the name of the website. I'm sure Xavier will reach out to you. Nick, just make sure you let him know that I sent you over there, please. Also, a little subtle reminder about the price of diesel fuel. It's still at $5.13 a gallon. Yes, it's some welcome relief that it's dropped. But dude, I don't know about you, man, but I get so irritated when I see people celebrating that it's the largest drop in fuel price in history. And it's like, it was the fucking highest
Yeah.
price in history. Why?
And
Like,
I think they forgot about like the highest spike coming into it. You know, it was high before summer hit, and then summer hit, and it was like, what the fuck is going on? And people that were not equipped for that, or their margins were tight to begin with, and then you couple that with like the reducing cost of freight, and I mean, it was rough. It was rough for a lot of folks.
bro, I'm right there with you. And it's just like, I just don't want people to forget that though. You know, like I don't want people to forget, like, you can't sit there and like celebrate this shit as like it's a massive win or anything like that. Cause it's not. Like, yeah, it's great to see them drop, but we're still almost $2 a gallon higher than last year.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And that's big percentages too. That's big money when you're talking in terms of, 150,000 miles or more or less, per unit, depending on what they're doing. That's a lot of money on the table that they're losing.
Dude, I'm right there with you, man. And again, it's like it's setting people up though, because as always, I want to see people stay in business no matter what. And it's like it's helping offset some of those costs. And well, dude, let's break down some articles. We got some interesting headlines
Let's
here
go.
today. The first one is from ttnews.com. It's ATA's Chris Spear optimistic about the trucking economy and the Rhode Island tolling verdict. Dude, I had Chris Spear on my podcast. I think, and I've seen him speak a couple of times. It's a comment. I like the guy personally. I think he just has a no bullshit attitude, in my opinion, but he also knows how to play politics at the same time, which is very, very weird.
Chris is high level. I actually had the pleasure of listening to him speak at like an intimate event for one of the insurance companies that they put on a deal. And yeah, Chris is awesome. It was great information. I mean, it's high level, and like you said, he can speak on all different levels, and he has the best interests of truckers at heart. So Chris is awesome. Shout out to Chris.
Dude, absolutely, man. I gotta reach back out to him. It's been a little bit.
Yep.
Let's see. He said that the trucking industry continues to show resilience despite challenges in the U.S. economy, marked by two straight quarters of negative gross GDP and interest rate hikes. Goes on to say, we're starting to see a lot of the impact of the Federal Reserve decision to raise interest rates and the impact it's really having. We have 40-year highs in inflation nearing 10% and record highs on fuel. Even though it's coming down, it's still over what it was a year ago, and it's certainly going to be impactful on our industries and our abilities to serve and help climb out of this. The Fed tried to tap the brakes to slow the economy, and instead we're hitting the emergency brakes. We're sliding around corners. This creates a lot of uncertainty. The ATA's chief economist, Bob Costello, has put a 50-50 probability on a recession during the first quarter of 2023. A view that Spear noted incorporates a wide range of influences. You have to look at a collective number of factors, and I think that what Bob and his team have really been analyzing, there are so many factors within the economy that remain strong and resilient. Again, these factors such as inflation and fuel costs, that it gives us a little bit of hope that we can come out of this very quickly, but we still have 3 to 4 quarters before we'll see anything positive in that sense. And that's like, a lot of the people that I follow and stuff out there, like they're predicting it's going to be like a 5-quarter recession is what we're going to be in. And it's, and I know that people go back and forth right now. Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? I know it doesn't help when certain government entities are trying to literally change the definition of what a recession is, and stuff like that. And I know that doesn't help. But again, I just think like most people, man, because dude, like we're fucking, at the end of the day, man, we're fucking resilient as Americans. We'll figure it the fuck out. We just need, like, I just don't like this isn't this article that I'm speaking of, because again, I like this article a lot, but I think it's the overall sentiment right now. Like, we just got to rip the fucking Band-Aid off and be like, hey, this is the reality, you guys, but this is what we can do to get through this. And I think that's just what's lacking in a lot of leadership out there is it's just like, stop fucking sidestepping. Just call it what it is, you know?
Well, I think too, you're coming out of a unique time with COVID. Call that what it is. It's changed the mindset of a lot of people working. So I know there's so many jobs we're hiring. I come around my town because that's kind of where I'm at and that's what I see. You can get a job anywhere, but I don't see people getting those jobs, or those jobs stay open for a very, very long time. So the money will run out, stimulus will run out. I'm not sure. Maybe people were immaculate with savings and they all did Dave Ramsey or some shit and they can afford to live for years. But at some point you got to make some money and work and get back in and contribute. And what's cool about Chris and those guys, they're looking at the housing market. They're looking at vehicle sales. They're looking at all the different factors that will contribute to this. What they were positive on, though, is like manufacturing. They were positive on building, remodels, all the things that still will move the transportation industry still look super strong. And like consumer buying behavior didn't move the needle much. And even if consumer buying behavior is super high, it wasn't a huge impact on the overall, I guess, health of the industry.
Yeah. So
it's interesting to look at that stuff, right? So,
oh, dude, absolutely. And I'm going to read this excerpt from this article. And this is one of the many reasons why I like Chris Spear is because he doesn't mince words at all in his stuff. And, because, in addressing AB 5, he comes, this is, a quote from him. I continue to say that Sacramento is the breeding ground for all bad policy. He says, I haven't seen a thing come out of that town that has helped our industry or our economy. They continue to set standards that not only impact California, but spill over to that region and the entire country. We're recipients of that because we are interstate commerce. He said in further court action, how the law will be implemented, as he maintained that it was written deliberately vague. It's vague for a reason, and it's intended to be litigated. If you're an employer and you are hiring and employing an independent contractor, our advice is to them is to get counsel, retain counsel, and prepare for this. You do not want to be caught off guard. He did express hope that Newsom, the governor out there, will use discretion with enforcement of the law and everything else. I think that what we are seeing, though, is kind of like what you were saying, is like there is still strong manufacturing. There is still strong portions of this economy. But again, I think like we just need to, as an industry, it's always gonna be like this, like regardless of what some people want to throw out there about what national averages are for rates and this and that, freight's fucking moving. And we have to find a way to provide a solution for our customers. And frankly, we got to find a way to remain profitable. Like none of this is easy. Like business isn't easy. Running a company is not easy at all. But we need, like, our customers don't care. All right. Like that's why they pay us, is to help find those solutions out there.
Yeah, no, they don't. And I think you thought we had a problem with the ports before. That was something that was discussed too earlier in the year. Now you're doing the AB5, taking out the owner ops and the guys that like live the American dream. They buy a truck, they want to go make money, and they do it in a way that works for them. You're removing that option out of them, right? For me, California, we get a lot of impact coming up the I-5 corridor, being in Washington State. So a lot of things trickle and follow suit. So I pay close attention, and I find that I don't do a ton in and out of California, but my clients are in there all the time. So I pay attention to that. The cool thing is, the one good thing, and this may or may not gain fans, is the 49ers are in California, which is my team. And then this being show 85, George Kittle is a motherfucking beast. So coming up on the NFL season, let's go.
Okay. All right.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on. I'm a Packers fan. I'm a fucking cheesehead through and through, baby. Fuck the 49ers. No, we beat ourselves last.
We'll have to catch a game together. We'll go.
Dude,
we'll go hang out.
Absolutely, man. We'll go do that for sure. We beat ourselves in the playoffs last year. But again, you guys hit it up. ttnews.com. ATA's Chris Spear, optimistic about trucking economy and the Rhode Island tolling verdict and everything else. And yeah, I just, in a time of where people are afraid to keep it real, it seems, I got to give a ton of credit to Chris Spear, because again, the guy does not mince words at all. He will fucking tell you how it is. And that's what I respect. Like, again, I don't agree with everything, like there's some stuff that comes out that of course I don't agree with, but I respect the way that he operates, man. I respect the way that a lot of people who aren't afraid to fall on some swords, who aren't about being that PC culture or anything else. You know, they're just them. And I fucking love that stuff.
Well, and form an opinion too, right? So listen to the people that this is what they do. And I think you got to listen to the opposing views too, just so you can form
Correct.
a solid opinion and find your stance on it. So, yep, I
Yeah.
love it.
Absolutely, man. Shamir, I don't know if they don't recruit people from the middle. I would reach out to anybody, man. I know, you know, especially with the freight forwarding, some of those places might have offices in the Middle East, man. I would definitely check it out and see. I can't say they don't do it. Let me see. Deborah Smith. Yeah, what up? Good morning. Louie, what's up, brother? Let me see here. Deborah, go Bolts. Okay. Well, okay. Bolts, go Raiders. All right.
Started an uproar.
Yeah. Here we go. All right. Next article that we're going to read today is from fleetowner.com. And as demand grows, fleets do not have to run on empty. And then again, you know, it goes in, the cost of doing business is high. Yet to earn more revenue, trucking companies and logistics providers need to take on more business, which inevitably comes with greater risks and added expenditures. It's a never-ending cycle. And unfortunately, optimizing operations has become increasingly challenging amid record high inflation, fuel, labor, and supply chain challenges. And e-commerce, you know, is unlikely to dissipate, you know, and that's the thing, is e-commerce is holding firm. That's out there. So like, from your perspective, Cam, right now with rising, like, what is something that, you know, because this article, you know, it was talking about fuel. It's kind of summarizing a lot of what's going in for the middle mile and everything, and the last mile profits and stuff like that. But I know obviously your strong suit is in the insurance game.
Correct. Yep.
What are you seeing out there right now, like from any cost saving measures from a driver's standpoint? Like, what can they start doing today?
You know, I think the big thing is educating their drivers on how to understand and interpret or read bill of lading. Also, make sure they're checking when they're picking up a load, and then make sure they're like, when they get there, like they're not just getting taken advantage of, because rejected loads are a big thing, right? And also understanding like what's in that. So, and it's tough, but like, let's say they had 100,000 on cargo. My mind goes to insurance with this article, even if it was about fuel, but it's more thefts on the rise, rising cost in goods, cargo loads. The value of that load in the back of that trailer is probably more than $100,000. And depending on the contract that you signed or that the broker set up or the agreement that's in place, they're on the hook for the difference, right? So if that's worth 250 and for whatever reason it got through and they accepted 100, but the actual cost is that trucking company's on the hook for that 150. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Sell a truck? A used like 1990 truck, and the way the market is right now will cover it. But you know what I mean? So my thought goes to that. So I think educating from the top down, making sure the drivers are aware, making sure that they're diligent on that, avoiding those claims that are easily avoidable, and challenging some of those contracts too. Because you can ask for like a waiver. If it's valued at 250, they only have 150, you know, the brokerage can sign a waiver saying we will accept that additional 100, but you need it in writing too, though. Yeah. So to release the trucking company component. So outside of that, safety is king. Out of services are going to play a huge factor, right? And you know, you're working with freight brokers and stuff. They see these companies with terrible out of service. I mean, your odds of getting that load there on time with a company that has a 60% out of service, a terrible safety score, versus somebody that's running at the average, national average, let's say 15% or whatever the trailer is, you're going to go with that company all day, right? I mean, preferred. You're going to try to get it to them. So that's all the stuff that helps reduce cost on my end and in my world. So that's kind of where I stay at and focus on with my folks. So
yeah, man, absolutely. We got a question for you. Can you talk about transportation and relocation protection plans if a driver passes away on the road far from home? Do you offer those policies?
You know, it's not something that I've, you know, fortunately, knock on wood, have come across a lot. I think certain insurance companies handle certain things better than others. And so not all policies are created equal, in my opinion. So, you know, first and foremost, you know, you're always going to send condolences. You're always going to check on that and the state of the family and stuff like that. And then the insurance companies that like I represent, like I try to work with, you know, they're going to make it right and they're going to handle it. And there's actually, there are some relocation costs, I feel like, associated in that and some stay and things like that. But it's not something that I've dealt with a ton. So I'd have to actually look into that. And then if he shoots me an email or shoots you an email, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to get back on that.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. Yeah, I think because it's like right now, more than ever with a lot of this stuff, whether it's fuel or insurance or everything, it's like I think this is that time in the market where you really, really got to dial in how you operate. Like you
Yeah.
really got to know what your costs are on a lot of things. And again, it's like I'm sure you deal with this a lot, man, with your clients. Like there's no playbook to this stuff, but there is an opportunity to start today.
Yeah.
And it's, taking a lot of this, with fuel, and there's just so much technology that's out there that, again, it doesn't make fuel prices cheaper, but it shows you where the most cheap fuel prices are along your route. Shout out to Trucker Tools. They have that. It's free for drivers and everything else. And I just think like right now, there's just so much information that is needed. We need to continue to bang this drum about what people can do to stay in business, because I don't want to see anybody lose their business. Like it's an unfortunate reality. People are going to go out, but I also think like this is a unique time where we can put the right information out there for people to use.
Yeah. Well, we're cut from the same cloth too, right? My approach is training, but I don't like insurance is a small portion of like what we talk about. I mean, that's what we do, but we offer other additional things. But the component is coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guidance, best practices, making you better than what best practices is. So that way, if something happens, you're a stellar company. And that way you're easily defendable. You run more profitably. You have less claims, less downtime. You're more desirable to work for. People want to come work for you. So in this time where you can't find, let's say, drivers on the driver's side or employees on the other side or sales folks, like you built this culture that people want to come there, right? So, I focus a lot on that. A lot of conversations are around that. Obviously legal, hey, help me with this, help me with that. We're not an attorney, but we will interpret like the insurance portion of contracts and review it with them and then put it back to their legal team. But
no, definitely. And again, that one was from fleetowner.com. It was as demand grows, fleets don't have to run on empty. And yeah, that was an emphasis on fuel in that one, but it's also, it's about controlling what we can control and that education piece. And as always, you guys, every single article that we break down, the links are put up on the YouTube channel, The Freight Coach, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach podcast, audio only replay of it as well. Read into this stuff, you guys, because again, it's like you might be thinking to yourself, if you're a broker, how does this affect me? It does. It will trickle up at some point. And this is just information that you need to be able to put out there for your customers. No matter what, you need to be informed on what's going on in the market. And most importantly, you need to know how the market operates, because there is, and I know I've been talking about this a lot this week, but it's true. We're seeing a normalization of freight. The patterns of seasonalities have returned to how this is going to normally operate out there. Yes, the rates are still what they are, but the performance of how the market operates is kind of coming back in there. Zach Williams, you are right. Let's fucking go. Bob, happy Friday, and go Browns for him. Let me see. Nick Erdman, great conversation. Drivers need to be proactive with cargo security. And yeah, I think that there's always more that we can do on that. Last article we're going to break down is from Freightways, and it's a heavy vehicle use tax refresher as filing deadline approaches. So what does this mean to you, man?
Well, I just see that it collects over $1 billion in tax income for when this thing goes through. And every large, and I deal with, trucking and heavy freight typically and like 80,000 gross vehicle weight. So they're all paying that inflated cost on that, and they're paying for the roadways and they're paying for everything. I feel like there's an ongoing just bill going to the construction companies, just keeping these roads under construction, just causing headaches for the truckers, right? And so it's like, we need to allocate some of those funds on maybe project management, like let's expedite some of this shit. So like, I know you're in Phoenix, right? Or you're in Arizona. I mean, there's a ton of construction down there always. It's like, it's always under construction. I don't even get it.
I think the traffic cone is our state flower.
Pretty sure, man. So no, I look at that, but I think going back to the last article and this one as a company owner, because if you are new into the industry, these are things you don't think about, know about, or weren't talked about or coached about unless you're talking to my man, Chris Jolly here. And the people that were in this prior to COVID, I mean, that's kind of a pivotal point. And a lot of people came in during and after COVID because of the spike in inflated pay and the ability to earn money, and then the low cost of equipment. So people leveraged and then they were getting paid. It was a great time. But the people that worked prior to this knew their numbers, knew their percentages, understood what fuel costs did to the overall trip and the overall bottom line, understood what the cost of drivers did. And so they were able to prep, plan, get through this. And like, that was kind of a cherry on the top, right? Like all this extra money they made, but they're going to get through just fine. I'm finding the folks that are new, that were what they just wanted to start a business and get in and, you know, do the American dream thing, like we talked about. They just weren't properly coached or educated, or now there's these little things that start coming up that start eating at their bottom line that they just weren't even thinking about. And so it's just know your numbers. That's the big thing that I think of on this stuff. And then be proactive. That way, you know where your money's going, and like be engaged with ATA and all that kind of stuff that have some influence on what happens. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And dude, this literally laid out everything in this article. Like I thought this was one of the most informative articles.
It was a good one. It's a long one, but it's a quick read though.
Yeah, no, I know, because it's broken down. It's got out there. And again, I think it's putting everything into perspective about what you need. I mean, it goes into about how do I file it? If I sold trucks and I bought new ones and everything, like again, I give credit where credit's due, you guys. Like I'm not up here just to shit on everybody all the time or anything like that. This was a very well-written piece, and it laid everything out there because, like, again, you know, to Louis' point here, I think brokers responsible to know the insurance, both parties, from the customer to the truck. I would agree with that. I think as a broker, I should know literally everything about that shipment, you know? And then same thing with, if I'm a broker out there in this, you know, like, is it my responsibility as a broker to remind a driver like, hey, the heavy vehicle use tax is due? No, but it's also good for me to know as a broker what the fuck these drivers have to go through. You know, like, again, it makes you a well-rounded transportation professional, because it's not just all dollars and cents, you guys. Like that's fucking entry-level table stakes. You know, all of you guys are out here about thinking like, oh, it's just a rate per mile, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, a rate per mile is a portion of it, but there's a lot of shit you need to educate yourself on in this industry. And this is only going to help you.
Well, and like me, I stay pretty much in my lane for insurance. That's where our strength is, 100%. I guess there are professionals that article mentions a couple that you can talk to. You might not even have to pay the full rate, or you might not even have to pay a rate depending on the classification use and some other things in there. But I also gathered from that article that the IRS looks for flags and triggers to audit. And so it's like, if you think you're going to work the system, I don't think that's a great idea, because the IRS can bring anybody down. So like, I wouldn't recommend that, but talk to a professional. Apparently there's a couple in there that, you know, maybe there's a way to not pay as much, or maybe make sure you're doing it right, I guess is probably the best way to say that.
No, absolutely. And yeah, again, I'd hit it up. I'd read it. If you're not aware of this and you own a truck, I would definitely look into this right now.
We're like 10 years in, haven't paid a dime in taxes on heavy vehicle use.
That would be kind of funny, actually. A heavy vehicle use tax refresher as filing deadline approaches. Yeah, and again, it is. It's like, to me, it's like, dude, it's just the nickel and diming of it all. You know, like fucking hey, man, it's just everything. It's, you know, it's the fuel tax, you know, in IFTA, and then the heavy vehicle use tax, and then fucking hey, man, it's like, and I get it, because people are going, oh, it's only $200. Yeah, only fucking $200. Like per truck. Yeah, you know. And that's on top of it. It's just like, fucking hey, man, I'd be so pissed. You know, you're paying all these taxes as a driver, and these roads are just shit in most places. Like, where the fuck is all this money going to?
Yeah, and that's the question.
But we know
where they're not driving, you know, on low use roads. I guess
somebody flies private is where it's going.
Right.
Oh man. So, dude, what's your game plan here for the rest of the year? What is there anything you're hearing in the pipeline from, you know?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we're trying to be proactive on the conversation piece with our clients in coaching and education. So we've done a lot and increased traction on the broker side. So contingent cargo, contingent liability, the hired non-owned autos and stuff, and like just doing our best to educate them, and then making sure their side of the house is buttoned up tight. Also trying to educate, like you just said, on what the insurance should be or could be over on this side for the motor carriers. Because all this stuff matters. I mean, I've had a client leave, he didn't leave, got a quote, and they're a motor carrier, they're a fleet, got a quote, it was significantly less expensive, like tens of thousands of dollars. And we had the conversation, and I had them with this preferred program. And I said, hey, look, just go ask your broker, you know, your preferred brokers who you're working with, who do they prefer to work with in the event of a claim, or who do they just prefer in general? And it was unanimous, the program we had them in. They came back and said, okay, I'm not questioning that again.
Yeah.
Let's renew, let's sign up, because what we try to strive for is yes, insurance is a necessary evil. It's a component of the business, but it should be a smart component. It should be one that you actually utilize if you need it. It helps you. It actually works. It's not a fucking pain to go through a claim. Yeah. You don't have this nightmare or headache and dealing with people that don't understand trucking. So I don't know. We're just proactive on that. We launched a driver training program for our motor carrier. So it's a technology-based app that push notifications to the drivers to distracted driving, that kind of stuff. And then some really cool things on the horizon, I think, with some strategic partnership things and just adoption of technologies and growth is where we're at. So still rocking the podcast. So get a load of this trucking podcast. If I can shout that out, you've been on it.
Dude. Throw it out there. How can anybody reach out? Like same thing, man. Are you hiring? Put your social out there, podcasts, all that shit, man.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is a good one. So Cameron Peachia, P-E-C-H-I-A is always good. valleytruckinginsurance.com. You can find stuff. Get a load of this, podcast.com. And we're on Apple, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, you name it. So reach out any method, man. I'd be happy to chat. So hiring sales folks, service folks, we're always looking for good people. So
are you hiring remote? Or do they have
yeah. Oh yeah. So the beauty, we adopted remote before COVID made remote, right? And so we invested heavily in technology years ago. And so I've got folks up in Canada to Texas to Ohio to Puerto Rico. I even utilized some folks out of the Philippines and just spread out. So yeah.
Dude, that's funny. I love it.
Yeah,
man.
brother.
Dude, that's great. Well, hey guys, that's it for today. Next week I'll be in Minnesota. So I'll be doing some stuff out there. I'm actually going to be at the Minnesota Trucking Association annual conference. I'm going to be doing a special night show on Tuesday. And then I'll still have my normal Tuesday morning one, but I'm going to be broadcasting live from there on Tuesday night as well as Wednesday morning for my Wednesday morning show. And again, we're just talking to people out there, what they're seeing and how are we going to continue to navigate through all of this stuff, you guys. So that's it for today, this week. As always, if you guys found value in this, share the show. All right. That's all I can ask of you guys at the end of the day is to continue to share this. We're on a fucking roll. We're not stopping. All right. And you guys all know, I say this all the time, in 12 months, we will be the largest media source in transportation. All right. That's where we're going with this. We're not slowing down. I appreciate you guys all so much.